So these are guys again, right? We're fading based on their current ADP and where we think that they're going to return value at for it. And Kevin, why don't you go ahead and start us off here?
One of the guys that I'm fading is Anthony Richardson, right? Like, I understand the allure to it. I understand that with his legs, there's a ceiling that is extremely high for redraft leagues, right? I'm not talking dynasty. I understand where he's going as a top three pick in dynasty. But for redraft leagues this season, I am not drafting Anthony Richardson at his current ADP. I would rather take Tua. I would rather work through Dak Prescott and kind of mitigate the risk at quarterback. Now, in a league like Scooby just had, right? It's a 2-year keeper. Maybe I change my tune a little bit in single quarterback leagues, right? Maybe I look at that and, if you go quarterback early, or even if you wait, right? Like if you go Tua in the ninth and then Richardson, or Tua in the eighth and then Richardson in the ninth, if you feel confident enough with your roster construct, I think that's okay. Um, the real question is, do you think that you are going to see that year two jump, or are you really only getting 1 year out of him in year three in a situation like that, right? So, me personally, because of where his ADP is, I am fading Anthony Richardson. I am not trusting any of these rookie quarterbacks to produce consistent and reliable fantasy value at my quarterback position.
Agreed. Another rookie that I'm fading on his ADP, Jamir Gibbs, right? Like kind of the darling of the fantasy industry right now. I'm just not looking that way in the third round. There's other guys I'm going to go with in the third round. Um, Jamir Gibbs, again, I think most of the touchdown work in Detroit, especially when they get inside the five. They're not a team that tends to throw the ball. They're a team that tends to run, and I think that Monty is going to eat on those five zone type of rush attempts. So Jameer Gibbs, a guy that I'm going to fade off of his current ADP.
I like that. Um, Another group of RBs that I'm fading is Dolphins running backs. Um, they've ran the ball a little bit better this preseason, which is great, but there's three of them. And when there's three of them, that's a big problem. It's hard enough to navigate between two as people who are, you know, avid fantasy players well understand. Now there's three, right? Each provides their own upside. A Chain went out last game, right? He got dinged up, pulled. Mostert looked pretty good. And then Wilson didn't play at all. So it's a convoluted backfield, and it's one that I am fading at all ADPs. I will take a flyer on Mostert in the 12th or 13th, I suppose, if I'm stretched, if I'm thin at running back. I think that's where I make my exception. But if I feel really good through the first 9 rounds of where I am on running back, I'm not looking at those Dolphins. I'm looking for high end, high upside wide receivers. Dobbs, Sky Moore is a guy that I'd look at a little bit here. And then possibly pivot over to Zamir White, Deion Jackson, Zach Moss type thing towards the end of the draft.
I like that. Another guy that I'm pivoting off of and fading on his current ADP is Deebo Samuel. Right, this is a guy that I honestly think that Brandon Ayuk probably actually outperforms Debo at the end of the season when it's all said and done here. So I'm going to take the wide receiver two out there in San Francisco, Brandon Ayuk over Debo Samuel in most of these drafts, and feel very confident in that decision.
Very good. And another wide receiver to add to this list, I'm fading Christian Watson. Right, I don't think that Jordan Love is going to target Christian Watson the way that Aaron Rodgers felt like he had to. I think that there's a reason we have Romeo Dobbs on the value list and Watson on the fade list, right? One's too high and one's too low. That being said, it's not that we don't like Christian Watson. He's an athlete. He's a lot of fun to watch, and we've seen he can put up wide receiver type numbers. It's just at the ADP. I want him 2 rounds later,
Mm-hmm.
right? with not really knowing how this is going to work out with Jordan Love, with him not really doing anything in the preseason to speak of as far as statistical output and what that looks like with the connection and the chemistry between Christian Watson and Jordan Love. All these things make me want to fade him. Now, I might end up with him on a couple rosters if I'm able to grab him at the value that I perceive is accurate, which, is going to be closer to that sixth, seventh, eighth round. But a lot of times there's a running back right in that round that I like anyway. So I'm choosing a lot of running backs over Christian Watson, just due to the fact of Rashad White and Javonte Williams and David Montgomery are all kind of going in this area. And if I can get one of those guys as a third, or possibly second, but third running back, I'm going to take that avenue, and I will find wide receivers elsewhere that have upside.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Mike Williams is the bonus guy here that I'm fading. And especially for redraft, a lot of it is I just don't want to ride the up and down waves that it comes with the Mike Williams experience on that. Riding the injury bug, he's been banged up here the last few seasons. But quite frankly, with Mike Williams, if he's not going to fall into the end zone 9 or 10 times throughout the course of the season, so if he's not going to put up a touchdown every other week type of thing, he has not had very good fantasy seasons here. So for redraft season long, I am fading Mike Williams on current ADP.